Hello students, welcome back to my YouTube channel Mathematical Lens by Namitha. In this video, we are going to continue with chapter number 8, Playing with Constructions of grade 6 Mathematics of the new NCERT textbook Ganitha Prakash. And we are going to explore diagonals of rectangles and squares. Right? So let us consider a rectangle PQRS. So here a rectangle is made P, Q, R and S. Right? These two lines are called the diagonals. Which are the diagonals? PR and QS. PR and QS or SQ, whatever you say, it can be said in any order. So compare the length of the diagonals. First predict the answer, then construct a rectangle, marking the points as shown and measure the diagonals. Right? So if we just look at it, the diagonals, they look a little longer than the sides given. So that's our prediction. We will now draw a rectangle and check that. So in rectangle PQRS, the right angles at P and R are referred to as opposite angles. The other pairs of opposite angles are the Q and S. Right, so let me explain you that first, then we will draw the rectangle. So which are the opposite angles? P, angle P and angle R. Similarly, S and Q. These are the pair of opposite angles. Then observe that a diagonal divides each of the pair of opposite angles into two smaller angles. In the figure, the diagonal PR divides angle R into two smaller angles, which we simply call as G and H. Right? So there are some questions whether the diagonal divides angle P into C and D, are G and H equal, are C and D equal, right? So let us explore that by drawing a rectangle. I'll just show you the angles first in the diagram. You can see here. So like angle P is dividing it into, this diagonal PR is dividing it into two equal angles. This is, sorry, not equal, two angles, C and D. We need to explore whether they are equal or not. Here B and G. Then angle R is, PR is dividing G and H. These are the two angles. Okay, G and angle H. Looking at it, they don't look equal, but now we will draw it and confirm it. So let us first construct a rectangle. We take the measurement as 8 by 6. Right. Then we use the protractor. I hope you remember the steps of construction. So we first mark 90°. Join these points with the help of a scale. Now we take the scale. The width, we are taking it as 6 centimeter. Cut an arc on both the sides. Right, and join this 2 points once again. Right, so now we have got a rectangle. We can name it as P, Q, R and S. We can erase the extra lines. Now we join the diagonals. So diagonal PR and QS, right? And then this angles are dividing it into A. Angle S is the diagonal QS is dividing angle S into two angles, right? We need to check whether they are equal or not. First, we name them C and D. Now we see that this 8 centimeter, this is 6 centimeter, which we have already drawn accordingly. We need to check the length of the diagonal, right? So we are now trying to answer some of the questions which are given. So diagonal is 10 centimeter here also. So PQ PR is equal to SQ is equal to 10 centimeter, right? So what do we understand? That the length of the diagonal is greater than the length of the sides. Okay, this is one thing we conclude from this. Now we need to check the angles, the smaller angles which are formed inside. Now if you see here, this is around 36, angle A, right? Okay, and '54. So angle A is 36 degree and this is 54 degree. Now let us measure other angles. So this is 36 again. You need to be very careful while measuring with the help of this protractor, which scale you are looking at, right? Otherwise the measurement may change. Here you are saying the inner scale. So this is 36 degree and this is 54 degree. Okay. Now look at angle F. So here we are seeing the outer scale 54. This is, you can see it is 36. Now if we measure this side, here we are seeing the outer scale, the inner scale. So this is 36 degree. And angle C you can see it is 54 degree, right? So we have measured all the angles which the diagonal is making with that particular angle, like angle S is divided into A and B. Similarly, Q is divided into E and F. So we have measured all of them. Now let us see the relationship between them. So first of all, the question was, is the diagonal dividing the at that particular angle into two equal angles? So no, the diagonal is not dividing. You can see one is 54, the other is 36 degree. The diagonal is not dividing the angles into two equal angles, right? That we observed. So we can say that A is not equal to B. Similarly, G is not equal to H, E is not equal to F, C is not equal to D. That is one thing. But if you observe, here angle B and F are equal. Similarly, D and H are equal. A and E are equal. So which angles are equal? A is equal to E is equal to H is equal to D, which is equal to 36 degree. Similarly, if I take this B is equal to G is equal to F is equal to C, which is 54 degree, right? So this you will learn in higher classes, that these two lines are parallel and this is a transversal and these are alternate angles, so they have to be equal. But right now what we need to remember is the length of the diagonals is same, but they are not dividing the angle at the vertex into two equal angles. This is what you need to remember. Now they have asked us to draw different rectangles and measure the length of the diagonals and also check these angles and the different angles which are formed. Right, so that can be done. But there is one question asked, that can you draw a rectangle wherein these two angles, like here in this case A and B, they're equal. Right, now this is possible only if the length of the sides are equal. The length of the sides of the rectangle, all the sides are equal. So if all sides are equal, it becomes a square. Though square is a special type of rectangle, right? So that is possible only in the case of a square. So let us draw a square and check whether that's correct or not. Now we draw a square and check. Right. Now we take a protractor as we do. Mark 90-degree angle. Now, as it is a square, I have taken this as 6 centimeter. Take the compass, cut an arc from both the vertex and join this. Now we can give this the same name as we had given in rectangle. We cut the extra lines. Right, so P, Q, R, S. Now we join the diagonals. Right, now what we need to check is, we give them names. Like here it is A, B, C, D, E, F, G and H, right? First we measure the length of the diagonals and check whether they are equal. This is around 8.5, you can say 8.4. This is also 8.4, right? So PR is equal to SQ is equal to 8.4, and this we had taken as 6 centimeter, right? So in this case also the length of the diagonal is greater than the length of the sides. This is one thing which we saw, it is same as rectangle. Now we check the angles, right? Now you see the angle is exactly 45 degree. If this is 45, the other has to be 45 because the total is 90 degree. So 45, 45 degree. So in this case, it is dividing angle S into two equal angles, right? We can check for all. 45. Here also it is 45. 45. 45. Can see 45. And the last one. So also 45. Right. So what is happening? The diagonals, if they equally divide, there is a word, it is known as bisect the angle. Right. So in a square, the diagonals are equal in length, which was also in rectangle. In rectangle and square, both in both the cases, the diagonals are equal in length. But what we established over here, the diagonals bisect the angles. Bisect means they divide it into two equal angles, which is not in the case of a rectangle. So this is what we established. These are the properties of rectangles and squares, which will help you in later classes. So we have established certain properties of rectangles and squares by constructing them, measuring them. Okay. So we'll continue with this chapter in the next video. Thank you.